Good. Jackson, it seemed like it was a groin strain. Is that right?
It was more. I think it was more hip, like hip flexor area, and I think it was on the contact that he took right by the touchline on a tackle. So, but I think that one's going to be something that we can manage within a week or so.
And then heading into another game so quickly after the other day, what's your take on the attack and what needs to change perhaps to generate more opportunities and obviously more goals?
Yeah, I mean a few things. One, I think we want to make sure that we stretch the opponent. We have to do that more often, more consistently. I think that's when we're at our best, and we have the right dynamic to be able to play in behind. And when we get into final third positions, particularly in wide positions, we've been really good at getting into those spots all year consistently. Now, I think a big topic is if it's not on, we don't have the right numbers in the box, then we're comfortable with recycling. We need to recycle and find the next solution and have a little bit more combination play, potentially central. So, this is something that not only do we need to look at in regards to ourselves to be more productive, but we also look at the opponent and what New England does well and where we think we can get it done.
Thanks, Troy.
Next, we'll go to Dave Johnson.
Well, just picking up on what you just said, Troy, given the opponent on Wednesday, more numbers in attack. I mean, you finished the game Saturday. It seemed like a lot of attacks were generated with, it seemed like three wingers attacking. Just your thoughts on that, without giving away your plan, but given the opponent.
Yeah, a little bit of what I was saying to Steve. I think we actually had okay numbers towards the end of the match, but we were settling on service from positions that didn't benefit us. So we have to be able to recognize when it's time to serve, when it's time to recycle, and then guys like Gabby, guys like Peglo, Jared, Jose, those guys are really good in quick combination play, and we've seen that this year. We've had some good moments this year where we create goal-scoring opportunities with them through that. So it's about when we get the numbers in the right position high up the field, how do we maximize those and not just settle for putting a ball into the box that we don't have the advantage.
And especially, I mean, obviously you made a lot of progress on defense, but boy, in this league, you really pay for turnovers. Is that a focus just to make sure not turning the ball over?
Yeah, I mean it's simple to say it that way, but I think that is important to recognize, and we've been hurt a few times this year through turnovers that then lead directly to the opponent's goal. So we can prevent that, particularly I would say even more specifically in the final 5 to 10 minutes of halves, starting halves, ending halves, in a way that's a little bit more pragmatic. There's nothing wrong with that. We go in 0-0, and that's a talking point for us. We go in 0-0 the other day against Red Bull, and we had a big chance in the first half. They had a couple more, but I think we can make some different adjustments without having been down a goal at that stage. So this is something again we can improve on.
Next, we'll go to Donald Wine.
Thank you. Hey, Troy. Thanks for your time today. The question that I had was, I know no coach likes to use injuries as an excuse, but you've had a lot of injuries in key areas that have kind of affected guys getting those reps together. How has that affected or not affected the attempts at consistency on the offensive end?
Yeah, I mean, I think I spoke about this a little bit last year, because last year also was a little bit of an outlier, if you can recall. So, I mean, we lose our captain, and he has to end up retiring in Steve Birnbaum. That was a massive loss for us. Russell Canales, that was a big loss for us. Those are two guys we projected to be starters, and we missed those guys last year. But we needed to find solutions after that, and I think we were able to do that last year. I know that's a different position when you lose someone like Christian Benteke, who's the Golden Boot winner last year and one of the best scorers in the league year in, year out. That's a different demand than a center back and a six, but I still have the same mindset, Donald. I think it's so easy to talk about injuries or talk about what you don't have. I want to talk about the guys that we do have. I think we have guys. Jose scored this year. Peglo has scored this year. Schneggy has scored this year. So we have to keep bringing those guys into the frame. Jacob has scored this year. and we need them to do that more often. But I also need to keep providing solutions for them. I'm not gonna focus on what we don't have, and guys like Baji and Christian Benteke. Clearly, I want them back in the mix as quickly as possible, and they'll get back in the mix. But I'm gonna keep trying to focus on what we do have as we prepare for these matches coming up against New England and Cincinnati this week.
Great, thank you.
Next, we'll go to Dennis Gomez.
Hey Troy, during your tenure, you've been undefeated against New England. How can you continue that streak?
Yeah, I think last year is the first match of the season, so that was a great way to start, and then it was the second to last match of the year. So it's hard to, with that being a bookend that way, it's hard to look back on last year and then bring that into view for this year, because I think that they're a pretty different team in terms of some of the personnel that they brought in, and as are we. So from our standpoint, I think similar to what I was just speaking about there with Donald, like I need to help our guys create more opportunities. I think we're doing a great job of defending and not allowing the opponent very much, but in order for us to get a result versus New England, we have to be able to go and create more attacks.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Bruce Murray.
Hey, Troy, thanks for your time. When you put the subs in at halftime and then past halftime, it seemed to me that you kind of had three wingers interchangeable up top. A little bit like the national team, right? They don't have Brian McBride anymore. They don't have, Josie Altidore. So is that something that we can look for going forward, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think the changes that we make the other day are one with Jackson coming into the match. He was coming in as a central midfielder, and then we just changed our shape a little bit whenever he had to come out of the match. So I think that's probably why you saw that change. Is Fletch is naturally a winger, but he's having to play in the 9 right now, with Christian and Bodge being out and Jacob being really the only 9 that we have. So that, Fletch has a tendency to be on the left side sometimes, so it looks a little bit more with him there. Gabby coming in for Jackson at that particular time. It looks like a lot of 10s on the field, but I think that was more circumstance the other night. And so we'd like to still have kind of the same structure that we've been having lately, and try to maximize that as much as we can.
And then a follow-up question: you've got 2 games coming up back to back. If you can get the 6 points, I mean, how do you in the locker room, right? The positivity. How do you keep this going? We've seen this before. How the MLS is just one of those leagues where, man, it goes all the way down to the last game or the last kick of the ball. How do you keep that locker room?
Yeah, this is something that we spoke about yesterday as a group. So I mean, we not only do we have these 2 matches, but then we have 2 more matches against Chicago and Salt Lake before a longer break for everyone in the league. And these 4 matches are critical for us at this stage. And so we try to speak about that and set a target for ourselves in these 4 matches that we feel like is realistic. And with 2 home matches in Chicago and New England tomorrow night, we feel like we can get results in these matches. So at Cincinnati and at Salt Lake are a little bit of a different discussion, but this group, we really need to be focused on tomorrow night as a first step in these 4 matches coming up before the break.
Thank you, Troy.
Then we'll go back to Dave Johnson.
Just real quick, Troy, nothing like Dave experience. What are you seeing in the growth of Luis Barza? Because every game I think about him coming out and stoning Forsberg 4 minutes in. He's giving you a chance for 3 points every time he starts.
Yeah, I mean, I've said this a number of times. Our goalkeeper department, Cody Mizell, has done such a great job scouting that group and bringing them to our club and then training them and helping them perform well. And so I think June and Jordan have shown it in different ways. And to your question, Luis has been very consistent. I think he's made a number of saves for us that have kept us in matches like New York City, and allow us to gain a little bit of momentum in a match too whenever he's able to make a big play for us.
Thanks.
And we have one more from Zoom, Troy. There have been a select few players that have appeared in almost every match, one of them being Jose Kajjima. Can you kind of speak to his play and how important he has been in the midfield and going into year 2 of his career?
Jose's been really versatile. Number one, I think he's played in a few different positions, and in each of those positions, he's been able to fill that role in a really positive way. Whenever we press, I think he has a lot to do with us being successful. And then I've been really happy about seeing him be productive too. I mean, he's got a couple of goals and a couple of assists now. The play that he makes the other night where he slips Jacob is an example of his chance creation for us. So I think he's been really complete this year as a player, and we need that from him going forward.
That's it from Zoom, Troy.